things easy, do you? You don't make things easy. Alright. Okay. See how you are going to be. Give me just a minute. Come on, you slow thing. Hush. I don't want... If you're going to be that way, then get down. If you're going to be like that, get down. Go play. I ain't got the patience for you tonight. Just go play ball or do whatever you're going to do. Just do it. I'm still trying to get everything going here. I'm running behind as it is. Wow. Come on. Really? Piece of crap. Wow. Just a minute, guys. I'm sorry. Hey. Wish I had a way to do this automatically, but I don't. There. That'll have to do. Hi, Nick. Hi, Clean Frame. Hello, Carol. Played some Claire Obscure. Thoughts on Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Switch 2. I have played a few hours of Claire Obscure, but lately all I've been playing is Borderlands 4. So I haven't finished Claire Obscure yet. Super Mario Galaxy 2 on Switch 2, I have not purchased it. I'm not going to support the whole I'm not going to support the whole data card only have to have to download it off the server garbage. In other words, fake physical media I'm not going to support. It's just not going to happen. So, I have both of those games on the Wii, and I do have the Super Mario 3D collection that was released on the original Switch that has the first Super Mario Galaxy on it. So, I'm not hurting in that regard. We'll be getting going officially in 2 minutes here. Sorry about the delay, but I'm trying to be better about posting when I start these things on social media Used to, I only posted it on X. Now I post it on X and a couple of different places on Facebook. And so I don't have a way to do that like automatically where I could, just post it on one place and it sends it everywhere I want it to go. I don't have that, so I have to do it all manually every time. And if I'm running behind, like I was today, it becomes an ever increasing pain in my backside. There's a console that can play SNES, NES, and Genesis all in one. I'm going to buy it. I have it sitting right here. You're not going to like it, though. You're not going to like it, Nick, because the one that I have is the Polymega, and to get everything on the Polymega will run you over $1,000. So probably your best option affordability-wise would be to get the Retron 5. You have to be careful with the Retron products, though, insofar as inserting and removing your carts, because its connecting pins are very, very tight. And if you're not careful, you can either, rip the connectors right off the board or rip the connectors right off of your cartridge. So that's one of the reasons that I'm not a big fan of a lot of the Retron stuff out there. So keep that in mind. Meanwhile, the Polymega is expensive, but it will play NES, Famicom, Super NES, Super Famicom, Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, TurboGrafx 16, TurboGrafx 16 CD, Turbo Duo, every form of turbo there is, it does it. It'll also play Sega CD, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 1, Neo Geo CD. I mean, it does a whole range of systems. I wish it did 3DO, but it doesn't do 3DO. It also doesn't do Dreamcast yet, but it does a ton of stuff. But you pay for it. It's like $1,000 because you pay about $500 for the base system, and then you pay like $150 a piece for all of the expansion modules. I just got the expansion module for N64. The expansion module for Atari 2600 and 7800 is supposed to get to me sometime this year, and I haven't pre-ordered the light gun yet because you have to buy them one at a time. They don't come in a pair, and they're like $150. So once I get me at least one of those light guns, I'll have, and the Atari one actually ships, I'll have everything for that system. I love it, but it's expensive. And for what it does, it's not going to beat emulation, of course, because, you can buy, for $300, you can buy one of those emulation drives on Amazon that has every game ever made on it. Handheld, console, arcade, don't matter, all of it's on there. And all you have to do is hook it up to your computer and then configure all of the ROMs to work with whatever controller you have. And I have one of those. It's sitting on my computer under here somewhere. Great big Kinhank hard drive. It's got 150,000 games on it, but you do have to go into each emulator and configure it to recognize whatever controller you're using. So that's a bit of a pain in the butt, but, I'm not going to lie, it is a thing of convenience, and is probably the way that 8th is going to end up modding his arcade cabinet upstairs, and the arcade cabinet out in the garage is put in, a halfway decent PC that has one of those Kinhank drives plugged into it, has all those ROMs on it, and then he's just going to sit and configure it to use the controls that are plugged into the arcade board. So, yep. 8th is a genius, man. Everything that I know about IT, I had to brute force my way through, and of course I had college too. But he can just sit down and tinker and figure it out. He doesn't have he has an easier time with it than I did, and I was considered gifted. I was in the gifted program. I was considered one of the smart kids. But when it comes to how fast you can pick something up. Like if I need to take a certification class, I have to go through the exam. I have to go through the class several times before I can take the exam and pass it. 8th can just sit down and figure it all out. It's amazing to watch because he goes to school now he's going for a degree in mechanical engineering, right? He's doing a work study for the engineering department and other things where his main thing is that he's one of the ones that takes prospective new students on tours of the campus. But he also works in this shop helping them out with various things. And usually that involves, hey, we just got in all of these thingamajigs. We don't know anything about them. Do you think you could get them working again? And he's like, okay. And it'll be a piece of equipment that he's never heard of or touched or anything. And he'll take it apart and he can figure out what's wrong with it and fix it. Like this kid was born over 2 decades after 8-track was made obsolete. He can fix 8-track tape decks. That's 8th, man. It's amazing. He's never even used an 8-track tape deck. He can fix them. Magic powers. So, let's try to catch up here. Anime TV show you'd like to recommend? Well, I recommended some in the Game Room tour, so things like Gal Geiger, Berserk, Gurren Lagann is a really good one. Godanner is good, but there's a lot of fan service in Godanner. A lot of panty shots and bouncing boobs, Let's see here. Have I seen one battle after another? In life, or is that a movie? In life, yes. Movie, no. Thoughts on Transformers, the movie from 1986. I saw that movie in the theater. I'm about to turn 51. I saw that movie in the theater. And here's the fun part, Carol. I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I went to see the movie. My mom took me to see the movie in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee sits at the foot of Lookout Mountain. So in the scene where Hot Rod says to the kid, whose name is now escaping me, he says, hey, we can get a better look from on top of Lookout Mountain. All these kids exploded in applause. Yay, Autobot City is in Chattanooga. Anyway, I don't know. There's not that many places in the United States where you could have gone to see that movie and gotten that reaction, So I had a very unique experience going to see that movie. Anyway, from Vengeful Cowboy, how are you, kind sir? I'm doing all right. Do you think Chris will reinstate his channel? Maybe he did already. I don't know. I talked to him briefly yesterday. And when I say talk, I mean that, we DM'd back and forth. That's one thing you'll learn with me is I don't put any distinction between actually talking to someone on the phone or texting with them. To me, it's the same thing. I don't like to talk on the phone, really. So 99% of my interaction with people is done via text message. So I talked with him yesterday. He was all right. He was doing okay, but he was really busy at work, so I didn't get to talk to him much. But he may have already reinstated it. I don't know. I just know that, he was getting a lot of negativity from people. Mostly fans of Wood were harassing him, and so he shut down all of his social media with the exception of a small handful of people that he allowed to stay on his Facebook. And I was one of them because he trusts me. I'm not going to, blab about things that we talk about. But, he was getting a lot of negative interactions. And so he just kind of went away for a while. And I don't blame him. Let's see here. I'm doing all right, Vengeful. I'm doing all right. Have you played Spider-Man Separation Anxiety? What system was that on? I mean, I at one time, I don't now, but at one time, I had like all the PS3 Spider-Man games. I don't anymore, but I did at one time. But I can't remember which one Spider-Man Separation Anxiety was. Have I played the Ninja Gaiden games, and if so, am I hyped for 4? I don't particularly care for the 3D Ninja Gaiden games. I don't like the way they feel and control wise. If they felt more like Devil May Cry or something like that, I'd probably like them more. Um, I'm more of a 2D Ninja Gaiden fan. Now I did pick up the new 2D Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I do have it, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I have both it and I have Shinobi. I had an idea for a video where I could put the two of those side by side and compare them and decide, which one was a better game. But I don't know if I'm going to do it or not because, me and Eighth put hours of work into that game room tour, and YouTube has decided to F me even worse. So, it hasn't even reached 300 views yet. Back in the day, prior to 2016, halfway mark of 2016, I could post a video and it would hit 300 views in 30 seconds. And then I would be getting views so fast that it would stay stuck at 300 for hours while the system tried to catch up to how many views I was getting. And I would get, 20,000, 40,000, 60,000, 80,000 views. 100,000 views. Xbox review, 1.2 million views. Not anymore. If I can get a video up to 1,000 views, I feel like I accomplished something. It's pathetic. Anyway. It's pathetic. Anything planned for Retropalooza? Just gonna have fun with my friends and miss the one that's not there. That's pretty much all I have planned. There is a particular vendor that I intend to go see. He's usually the vendor that I spend the most money at. There are specific vendors that I always buy from. I always buy from Billy, which he's not going to be there. I always buy from Captain Retro. It's something. It might not always be my biggest purchase, but I always get at least one thing from Captain Retro. I always buy from OK Chief. I'll get me, if I'm looking for a specific toy or action figure, I will make a beeline straight for OK Chief. And then there's Dan. Dan is the vendor that he sometimes goes by a different name because he's also a referee, and he referees under a different name. A wrestling referee. He refereed at the Retropalooza where Billy fought Boogie and had the wrestling match with Eric and all that. He's also a vendor, and he has always gotten me the best deals on NES stuff. And so I've told him ahead of time that I'm coming, and I asked him to look and see if he had a mighty Final Fight. That I didn't have the money to pay what it's going for nowadays, but if he had one, would he consider wheeling and dealing and bargaining with me? Because I've been trying to get that one for years, and I just either no one has it or I know I don't have enough money by the time that I get there. I've just had terrible luck when it comes to Mighty Final Fight, and it's one that Billy knew that I was looking for, but by the time I had spoken with him about it, I think he had already sold his to earn money for the movie. I think. That's another thing, and I'm not saying this to be crass or insensitive to everything, because you guys know I loved Billy to death. I'd give anything for this to have not happened. I would love to have back some of the at least a couple of the games that I gave him, to have something more to, because that was a special memory for me when they came to the house and hung out, and we were all together and having fun. That was a special memory for me, and I'd love to have a couple of them back. Uh, and I would pay Regina for them. I'm not asking to just have them given back to me, of course. I'd pay to have them back, and she could, put the money towards uh, Little Bit's college fund or whatever she wanted to do with it. But specifically, uh, I'd, I'd like to have the Arrow Flash that I gave him and the McDonald's game that I gave him uh, if he hadn't sold them already. But obviously I would never reach out to her and ask. But uh, you know, uh, she may very well want to keep everything in there exactly the way it is and not get rid of a single scrap for her son's sake. And I totally get that. But he had three main things that he got from me that he was excited about, and that was the McDonald's Arrow Flash, and he was very excited to get the case to Castlevania Bloodlines for Genesis. He had the game, but he didn't have the case, and I let him have my case and chose to just go cart only. There's nothing out there. Shut up. And I'm not all that big about the case. I'd rather, but if I could get Arrow Flash and McDonald's back, I'd love to have those, and just put them on the shelf and never play them, and just have those as a almost a memento mori of the time that all of us were together like that. But anyway, not trying to get all sad and shit. I've been sad enough as it is. I've been sad enough as it is. Carol, as far as what's going on with them, it's none of my business. I was close friends with Billy, but my friendship with Billy was kind of had a degree of separation from everyone else in the group. He kind of kept me somewhat sequestered when it came to that. A lot of them had, well, I would say most of them had no idea that he and I even talked behind the scenes, much less had been friends for years, and just thought that I was another fan of the show. And when I started talking to him and saying talking about things he and I talked about that I would only know if I'd been friends with him in that way. Some of them were surprised. So, I'm not going to get into all that because it's none of my business. I do know that after what Melvor posted, I think Melvor just wants everyone to take a breather from each other and come back at a later point and try to talk things out. All I'm going to say is that Billy, in my estimation of knowing him, he kind of he had friendship and family on the same level in his mind, and so he had for lack of a better term, a blended family that he had created, which was his friends and his family as one unit. And so I know that he wouldn't want what's going on right now. It's the last thing in the world he would want. He would want his death to bring the people that he cared about together so that they had each other and could rely on each other and draw strength from one another in their love and memory of him, not what's currently going on. And I'm not placing any blame on anyone for any of that. All sorts of things like this can happen when a death in the family is involved. And I've been on the receiving end of it. I know how it feels. I know how Chris feels. I know how Jay feels. I have not lost a spouse, so I can't say that I know how Regina feels, but I have lost parents. I've lost parents, so I know what that feels. I've lost grandparents. I've lost very close friends. I've lost cousins that I considered my siblings. So I know how those things feel. Eventually, I will know what it feels like to lose a former spouse to death, not to divorce. But currently, that's something I've been blessed to not experience. But uh, unless something disastrous happens to me and she ends up outliving me, that's the direction it looks like things are going to take. So, but the point being, Billy wouldn't want a bunch of squabbling and hate and well, not hate, but anger and hurt and mistrust and things that are going on. And I don't know the particulars. You know, I know that there is some disagreement on what should happen with the Game Chaser channel. That's all I know. And there was some loud words that were exchanged over that in regards to uh, Jay and Wood and Chris, and that upset Regina, and that's where everything is. That's all I would feel comfortable saying. Because again, I have no part of it. I'm not involved in any of that. So everybody just kind of let's not even make it a topic of discussion. Okay, let's just everybody respect the hurt that they're going through and respect their privacy, and we'll just leave it at that. And hopefully, come what may, things will resolve themselves out. The only other thing that I will say is what Billy told me in regards to the Game Chaser channel's future. And keep in mind that, a lot can change in a man's mind when he's, looking eternity in the face. But before all this happened, he told me that he wanted the show to last until episode 100, and then he wanted to retire the official show and focus on other things like toy chasers and stuff like that, chasing the unknown, while working on another movie. And in fact, at one point, he was upset, and I'm not going to go into details of why he was upset. There was something related to the movie that was going on that was getting on his nerves, and he said, "F YouTube, I just want to make movies." So, I don't have a say in any of that. I don't know if his perspective on all of that changed when he was in the hospital, and perhaps he decided that the Game Chasers wouldn't be the Game Chasers without his involvement, and that he wanted the channel retired. I don't know. I wasn't there. That's what I've heard, he said, but I wasn't there, so I don't know. All I know is what he told me specifically 6 months ago, which was I want to get the show to episode 100 and then take a break from it and work on other things while we work on the next movie. And yes, I know what the next movie was going to be about. I'm not going to tell you. It was not a sequel to Adventures in Game Chasing. It was a totally new plot. He had a vague idea of doing something almost similar to what Kevin Smith does with the View Askewniverse. So it was going to be kind of like the Chodaverse, where it was a bunch of very, very loosely connected stories with different characters, often being played by the same actors, kind of thing. So instead of all taking place in Red Bank, New Jersey, it would have been stuff that all took place in the Arlington, Fort Worth area kind of deal. So, I'm not going to tell you what the next one they were working on was about. Maybe one day Rob will talk to everybody about that, because Rob was the one writing the script with Billy. So, maybe he'll feel like sharing that one day. I contributed a plot idea, but as the script progressed, they were trying to hone things down, and they ended up cutting it out of the script, but which was fine. But he and I had talked about. I was like, if y'all actually raise the money for this next time around, I want some advance word on when the shooting schedule is going to be, so I can schedule vacation time for it, and I can, actually be on set and take a bigger role in things, as opposed to taking direction from you by remote while I film my one scene myself. It's not that I didn't appreciate it. I loved being in the film. It was fun, but I wanted to be able to help him more than what I did, which really what he did was help me more than anything else, because he just wanted me to be in it. And I don't even know if that Ray McLowball character was always in the script, or if he added it just for me to have another scene, a scene in the movie when the one that I filmed ended up getting cut out. I don't know. But anyway, let's see here. Now I'm going to have to scroll up. Carol asking a lot of questions. Where did Melvor post? It was somewhere on Facebook, I think. I remember seeing it. Let's see here. Spider-Man Separation Anxiety was on the SNES. I don't actually have that one. Retro Code TV. Hey, Retro Code, how's it going? Let's see here. Man, I really need to catch up. Carol asked a lot of stuff. Let's see here. Thoughts on Ghost of Yotai. Eighth bought it with his work study money. I have not played it. I watched him play it a little bit. He's already beat it. He told me that the story is much, much smaller scale than the first game, and that he basically doesn't like the plot or the characters, but that the gameplay was fine. Have you ever finished Super Mario 3? Yes, and I did it without the flute. I didn't use the flute shortcut. At the time, I didn't know that you could do that. I did it the long way. I'm doing it now on Switch, worth all the rewinds, etc., but some levels are still crazy hard. Yes, they are. What's my most anticipated game for me this year? I don't really have any left. My biggest thing I was looking forward to was Borderlands 4, hoping that it would be better than 3. And it was, but not by much. Apparently, they'll never beat the storyline or characters of Borderlands 2, because they hit a high with Handsome Jack, and that's been it. Kudos to 8th. I'll let him know you said so, Carol. Sorry for spamming the chat. It's 1 a.m. in Europe. We'll hang out a bit and hit the bed, then watch the rewind tomorrow. Fair enough. We do have a few people that watch from Europe, so you're not alone in that effect. I feel bad for Chris. I can understand why he felt that way. Let's not get into it. Let's see here. I'm getting a PS5 Slim tomorrow. 4K TV later down the line. Yeah, I need to replace my 4K TV. It's starting to turn itself off. And normally when, I'll hold on to a TV until it breaks. That one's in the process of breaking, but I don't have the $1,600 to replace it. Which, by the way, in regards to donations, now you guys that have been watching me for a while, you know how it works. How long I stream depends on donations. If I hit $50, that extends it to 4 hours. If I get $100, that extends it to 5 hours. If I'm at $150 or more, you get a 6-hour stream. All of the donations between now and December, before I head to Retropalooza, are going to fund the trip to Retropalooza. And I'm not talking about stuff that I'm going to buy. I'm talking about gas, food, and hotel. We're not going to be able to afford to stay in the hotel because all the hotels around that Will Rogers Center that weekend are like super expensive. So my friend Brian booked us an Airbnb for that weekend, and so I owe Brian half of that, which is $200. So in the least, I want to be able to raise $200 so that I can afford the hotel part that Brian has already booked. And then, of course, there's food and gas up there and back. So everything that gets donated between now and when we leave for that trip is going towards that trip. What's left over after food and gas and hotel will be, a little bit of spending money for me and for 8th. I know what 8th is going to be looking for when he goes up there. He's going to be looking for games to add to his FromSoft collection. He is bound and determined to own every FromSoft game, even the bad ones. So that's what he's going to be working on. But anyway, we always appreciate donations, and whatever it is that y'all can donate, that's what it's going towards this time around. We appreciate y'all donating towards the table. I know we were clowning around in the game room tour video. I made a statement about it that it came from donations, and then I said that you have this table because of me, and it was a joke, and we had to refilm it because I screwed something up with it, and when we refilmed it, I forgot to, not that we were working off of a script, but I forgot to mention that everyone had donated for the table, and so you ended up with the wrong version of that scene. And so I apologize. That's why I put in the description and then again in the comments that, we were thankful to everyone who had donated to get him that table. Let's see here. Hello, 7th, long time no see. Is it worth having a 2 terabyte SSD drive for the PS5 or Series X? I think it is, because especially with the PS5, where if you're just relying on the single 1 terabyte SSD, you end up only getting like 820 gigs of that. So yes, I definitely say that having the 2 terabyte is worth it, and then adding an additional SSD in the SSD drive helps out a lot too. Currently, I have a 2 terabyte SSD on board, then an additional 1 terabyte SSD in the expansion slot, and then I have a 3 terabyte hard drive plugged into it that all the old PS4 games that I've bought off of PSN are installed on. The only downside to that is when you leave that drive plugged in, when the PS5 boots up, it has to scan through that entire drive before once you log in. So when I turn my PS5 on, I have to sit and wait there for a little bit before it'll allow me to load anything because it's scanning everything in that hard drive. So if you can, just stick with the SSDs. Everything will run faster. And thanks for coming by, TF2. I'm just going to call you TF2. It's easier. Have you seen American Wedding? Many, many years ago. OK Chief's channel is wholesome as hell. Loved his Christmas videos, and earlier the Food Chaser series was awesome. Chief's a good dude. I've never heard a negative word out of Chief, man. He's a really good dude. Yeah, if he ever wanted to stop by here and just hang out, he'd be more than welcome to do so. Which was better for you, PS1 or N64? PS1, because it had the dual shock, so, twin analog sticks. In my estimation, the PS1, once the dual shock came out, had both a better controller and it had a better game library. I got more for my money out of the PS1 than I ever got out of my N64. I'm doing all right, Knucklehead. How are you doing? You having a good night? Have you played Sunset Riders? I have Sunset Riders on my arcade cabinet back there, and I have Sunset Riders for Super Nintendo. I used to have it also. $10 from Knucklehead. Thank you, Knucklehead. Appreciate you. Uh, I used to have it for the Sega Genesis too, but that was before the infamous yard sale debacle of 2004. So now I only have it on Super Nintendo. Or as Billy would say, Super Nintendo. For some reason, when he would say Super Nintendo, he'd leave the second N out half the time. So he'd say Super Nintendo. It's just one of the weird things Billy did. Uh, from Glenn, Billy was obviously the glue that kept everyone together. Regina doesn't want anything to do, so it sounds like she just knew. Well, I don't think that's the case per se. It might have been the case with Chris, but I don't think it was the case with Jay because they went out and did things together all the time. And there were days where they'd all hang out together at Melvor's apartment, and Regina would be there. So I mean, yeah, I think that there's just been a rift there. And again, I'm not going to get into that because I'm not there and I don't know everything that's been said and done. It's none of my business. It's none of y'all's business, really. Just let them deal with it. You know. Hopefully, everyone involved can come to their senses and realize that they're stronger and better off together than they are separated that way, and have mutual love and respect and understanding for each other, and everybody be stronger from it, and on the other side of this thing. That's what I'm hoping and praying for. Have you played Maximo on PS2? I have Maximo 1 and 2 on PS2. Have I played them? Yes. Have I beat them? No. They're hard as hell. What are your favorite pinball machines? Adam's Family, Elvis, all of the Kiss ones. I think there's been at least two. Tron Legacy. I really love the Tron Legacy table. I've got several. Let's see here. Hey, 7th from Stranded J. Can't stay tonight. Just wanted to crop dust the chat before I go. All right, my illegitimate son. Thank you for stopping by. And again, thank you for the $10. Appreciate you. For some reason, that did not update my donation goal. What is up with that? I will have to talk with 8th about fixing that because I don't know how to fix it. I have to talk to him about. I'm getting ready to revamp this whole thing. So I'm going to have some improved little flashy graphics and crap on here. 8th is helping me build it, but it's not ready yet. So I apologize, but it looks like super chats are still not working in building towards this. So I'm just going to have to manually keep track of donations using the super advanced tactic of manually writing them in Notepad. So let's see. $10. There we go. So we are $40 away from extending the show by 1 hour. Moving on. Let's see. I was excited for yeah. Second movie already. Well, it was a comedy in a Kevin Smith style, you could say. Did you pick up Evilise Chronicles? Yes, I did. I hadn't intended to, but going on 51-year-old man, and I forgot that I had pre-ordered it, and so it came out of my account when I wasn't expecting it. So I'm technically, $50 poorer than I thought I was going to be at the end of the week. But it's sitting on the shelf back there, and again, I haven't had a chance to play it because I've been too busy playing Borderlands 4. Metroid Prime, maybe. I don't hate Metroid Prime, but I'm not a tremendous fan of it either. I prefer the 2D games. Same thing with Castlevania. I prefer the 2D games over like the 3D stuff that they've attempted over the years. And same with Zelda. I prefer the original 3 Zelda games and the Minish Cap to any of the 3D ones. It's just the way I'm built, man. I'm old school. Is that the same 4K TV from the previous game room tour? Yes, it is. I was having some issues with it before. Now I'm having much worse issues. But again, I don't have $1,600 to replace it. So that's going to have to wait till next year. And hopefully it'll keep running somewhat consistently until I can afford to replace it. Because if that thing goes out on me before I get my bonus next year, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea what I'm going to do. Welcome back, Cotter. It's been a while since I've seen the classic 7th. Oh, yes. Yes. And for some reason, every time I go on a YouTube live stream on Chrome Edge, the chat box doesn't appear until a full minute after I get in the stream. I don't have an explanation for that. Come on, sweetie. There you go. You can sit up here with me for a while. Okay. Okay. You're pulling on my shirt. There you go. You want to say hello to the people? Say hello. You want to say hello? This is 8th dog, Alex. Alex is half Chihuahua, half Pug. She is a Chug. That's not what we were told when we bought her. We were told she was a full-blooded Chihuahua, but she is not. She is half Chihuahua, half Pug. So she has the speed and snout of a Chihuahua, but she has the smarts of a Pug. And let me just say, Pugs are dumb dogs. They're not very high on the IQ quotient. You know, I've seen Pugs that would go outside and chew on gravel for fun and grind their teeth down to nubs because they're that dumb, and have to go to the hospital because they've swallowed a stomach full of gravel. They're dumb dogs. And she's not that dumb, but she's not Chihuahua smart. She's definitely not as smart as my Chihuahua JD was. Not even close. But she's a loving thing. She's a very affectionate, loving puppy. She doesn't make a whole lot of noise. She doesn't talk like JD did. She don't like to do that, but why are you getting all fidgety? Why are you getting all fidgety, huh? What's your matter? What's your matter? You be a good girl. You be a good girl. You love your grandpa, huh? Do you love your grandpa? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Grandpa love you too. I mean, you can look at her face, and she looks like a pug with a Chihuahua nose, and she's got those her ears are floppy like a pug's. So you can kind of tell when you look at her. She's a strange looking little thing, but she's as sweet as can be, ain't she? Yeah, she's as sweet as can be. And she loves to play ball. Don't you love to play ball? Huh? You love to run and go catch the ball? See, she doesn't talk like a Chihuahua. You know, a Chihuahua, she don't do any of that. She'll growl and she'll bark, and occasionally, if she's upset, she'll whine a little bit. But for the most part, she is silent. She is silent, ain't she? Yeah. You've also gained weight. You've gotten fat. We've got to get some of this weight. Look at this. You got a uniboob right here. You got a uniboob. You need to... You've been getting a few extra fries off your dada's table, haven't you? Yes. I know how you are. Now, she won't beg. She won't beg. She'll just stare. You know, as in, please, sir, may I have some more? That's how she does. Don't you? Anyway. Do you owe Kuon for the PS2? Do I own Kuon? No, I don't. That's actually one that Eighth wants. Eighth wants that one really bad, but it's very expensive nowadays. That's one of the ones that's on like the top of his list. Every time we go to Retropalooza, Kuon is one of the first things that he looks for, and he hasn't been able to find one at a price he's willing to pay. What you looking at? What you looking at, huh? What you looking at, puppy? Are you a good girl? Huh? Do you love your grandpa? You love your grandpa, don't you? Don't you love your grandpa? I know you love your grandpa. Yeah, okay. You say, Grandpa, I'd rather be on the floor playing ball. I don't like it when you just sit here for hours talking to the screen. It makes me think you're going a little off. Back then, I thought the Trey Brotherhood was led by Dr. Trey, the Nintendo. Oh my God, no, different kind of Trey, different kind of Trey. Trey was El Presidor's idea. For him, it was short for 3 for PlayStation 3, the Trey. Have fun at Retropalooza. I appreciate the $10, Knucklehead. Hi, Herbert. How's your weight loss journey going? Not good at all. I haven't gained any, but I haven't lost any. I'm still right exactly where I was the last time I talked about it. For whatever reason, I'm just kind of stuck. I've hit like a plateau and I can't get under it, you know? Why don't you go lay down? You're making it hard for Grandpa to talk. Go lay on your blankie. Where's your ball? Where's your ball? Let me see a ball. You got that ball? Here. You gonna bring it back? You bring it back? Give me the ball. Give me it. Huh? Oh, you gonna growl, huh? Okay. Go get it. I've done it now. Now she's just going to want to do this the whole show. Usually she's with 8. What? What you want? Anyway. She seems nice. Very polite dog. Yes. Any idea why? Let's see here. After the inevitable demise of Xbox by going the way of Sega, do you think Nintendo will pick up the slack graphic-wise? I think Nintendo is going to continue to do what Nintendo does and not going to care what anyone else does or what the fans tell them they want. Any idea why the new Pac-Man World is in complete cartridge for the Switch 1 but only available key card for the Switch 2? No idea. No idea. I would guess it's some kind of incentive thing that Nintendo is doing with third-party people on the Switch 2 in a way of trying to transition out of physical media altogether. They're just trying to do it in steps instead of just cutting it off and saying, all digital for y'all from now on. That's where everything is eventually going, is all digital. Just accept it. But Nintendo's trying to take a tiered approach. Doggo, yes, Machu, it is the doggo. Sounds so vicious. That delay chat box happens more on Edge on my side than Chrome. That is weird, bro. That's very weird. All right, come here. Give me it. She will do this for hours, by the way. got me with that one. She got me with that one. I am unfortunately going more digital. Well, that sucks. I'm going to fight it as long as I can. That's one of the reasons why I still don't have a Switch 2, because I don't give a crap. I'm not buying anything that's not completely on the cart. Not doing it. Hell, even some of the Switch 1 games I bought aren't completely on the cart. You know, the base game is, and then all the extra shit you still have to download. She's gonna do this until her little body gives out, and then she's just gonna lay on the ground. And now that she knows she can do this while I'm doing the show, she's gonna want to do this all the time. Your current dog is peaceful compared to my sister's dog. That one likes to jump all over the place. Well, this one likes to jump too, but her favorite thing is to play ball. And she will play fetch with this ball for hours. Hours. Switch 2 is trash. I'd rather get a Steam Deck. I don't have a reason. That's one of the reasons why I don't. There's two main reasons why I'm not into the Switch, okay? One is there's no achievements trophy system. That's a big one for me. And the second one is that I don't care what y'all say. It's not a console. It's a handheld you can plug into your TV just like the Vita was. And I just don't have a need for a handheld console because I never go anywhere. I'm a recluse. I'm a shut-in. I live in this house. I'm in this house 99% of my life. It's very rare for sunlight to touch my skin. That's why I'm going on 51 years old and hardly have any wrinkles, just, you know, some minor scarring, like way up here. You know, I have some scars, but and I have, of course, laugh lines. But other than that, you know, I don't have any more wrinkles than I did when I started this show 16 years ago. All I have is gray and fat. If I was thin, if I could lose all this weight and dyed my beard, I wouldn't look any different than I did when I started the show in 2009. Because sunlight never touches my skin. Because I'm shut in here all the time. The only time I ever leave this house is if I have to get maintenance done on my car or if I want to go see a movie with 8th. That's it. That's the only time I go anywhere. Oh, well, in Retropalooza, of course. I used to constantly tell Billy, one of these days, I'm just going to drive up there and I'm going to show up on your front porch and knock on the door, just like you did to me. And he's like, how you going to know I'm home? I'm like, I know what you drive. I said, if it's not in the driveway, I'll just keep coming back around until it is in the driveway. And of course, I never did that, but he sure did it to me. You still gonna be up at 10 o'clock? Yeah. Okay. Next thing I know, he's hammering away at the monsters. Louie! Oh, Louie! Oh. Keycard is only providing an illusion that we somehow own a physical copy of the game. Yeah, I know. Retro code. I sold my Switch too. I don't blame you. There hasn't really been that much worth owning on it so far, has there? You got Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, and that's it. I mean, why would you buy third-party games on that thing when they're not going to run near as good as they would on the PS5 Pro? Or PC, for that matter. The only reason to own a Switch 2 is for the first-party stuff. No one in their right mind who has multiple consoles is going to buy a third-party game on the Switch 2. Period. F Switch 2 and F Xbox especially. Yeah. Well, me and 8th had already canceled our Game Pass subscriptions a couple of months ago. 7th, did you ever play the old Unreal game? I played the original when it came out on PC. Yes, I did. It was okay. I didn't like it as much as Doom, but it was okay. No reason to get a console besides the PS5. Even then, there's not enough PS5 for me to get. There's a lot on PS5. We have almost 180 games on the PS5. We haven't had any trouble uh, finding things we want to play on the PS5. Now, if you're a fanboy who only plays first party games, Dark Star, then I could understand it. But we have tons of games for PS5. And I'm not even talking about games that we've bought digitally on the PSN that don't have physical releases. We have hundreds of those. But as far as physical games, we have almost 180. Because, you know, Eighth bought Yote, Ghost of Yote. He bought $7 from Darkstar. Thank you, Darkstar. That puts us up to $17, which is what $33 away from extending the show by 1 hour. So appreciate that. He bought Ghost of Yotai. He bought Silent Hill F, and today, because there was a lot of chatter about how this game was like shockingly great, and that it only had a limited physical release, and so it was selling out everywhere in the pre-orders. 8th went out this morning and picked up the new Digimon game, because apparently it's the persona of the Digimon series, and it's getting like rave reviews everywhere. And even the makers of the game came out and said, if you're interested in having a physical for this game, we would suggest you go pick one up now, because it's selling fast and there aren't that many. And so he read that online and he rushed out this morning and bought a physical copy of that game. So, which, you know, he's always liked the Digimon series. He's never been into Pokemon. We have a few Pokemon games here and there, but he's always been a Digimon kid. So he was going to get it eventually, but then he sees this stuff about, you know, how great this game. It's supposedly the greatest Digimon game ever made, and it feels like a Persona game, and they only release so many physical copies, and it's going to sell out, and he rushed out to get it this morning. Let's see here. Have to go to sleep now. Thanks a lot. P.S. Please give this Top 5 Friday idea I posted earlier a thought. Did you post it in the chat? I didn't see it. Message me on Facebook and remind me what it is later. I'm surprised that the Switch 2 is sold so much. It makes no sense to me. Well, it sold a lot initially, and those were the Nintendo diehards. It's not selling great now. I've been into a Target, Walmart, and a couple of other venues, and they had stacks of them. So, you know, it did all right for a while, but it's kind of like died down now. Might pick it back up for Black Friday, though. I think consoles are done with the graphical leap for a while. PS6 around the corner, and they haven't got to PS5's potential yet. Console's going to be like iPhone soon. I don't think they're going to be every year, Glenn, but I think a lot of it, you know, they're relying on software-based AI more than physical hardware to make up the gaps. And it's like I've said for years, the closer you get to photorealism, the less and less of a leap you're going to see in graphics fidelity from one generation to the next. And so then it starts becoming about the size of the worlds, the intricacy of the level of interaction, the way the game controls, the things you can do in the game, how the game interacts with you in the real world. These are the things that will start defining what the next generation is, less than the graphical power. You know, the closer it gets to where you can't tell between it and real life, the less one will look better than the other. For example, you know, as far as like the intricacy of the world and how characters look, I barely see any difference at all between this generation and the PS4 generation. It's just sharper and runs at a smoother frame rate. But for me, I look at Spider-Man on PS4 Pro and I look at Spider-Man 2 on PS5 Pro, and to me, they could be the same system. It's just that one of them runs at a better frame rate and the image is sharper. Let's see here. Did you ever rip and tear until it's done, aka play any of the modern Doom games? I've played Doom 2016 some. I tried out Doom Eternal and didn't really like it all that much because it just felt like you were going from one big crowded arena to another big crowded arena. I felt that Doom 2016 captured the feel of classic Doom better. And we do have Doom: The Dark Ages, or Medieval Doom, or whatever it's called. We have that one too, but I have not played it at all. I have a Switch 2 with Mortal Kombat World and went back to Mortal Kombat 8. Mortal Kombat World is boring. I haven't played it. I haven't really been into Mortal Kombat since, well, Mortal Kombat 2 on the 32X. Seventh, tell us a weird dream you've had. I will tell mine in the next comment. I don't really remember my dreams all that often, except for the ones that are like recurring dreams, like I'm attending college at a college I've never been to, or I'm working in an office that I've never actually worked in, or I'm visiting a city that I've never been to before. But it's when I dream of these places, it's always the same layout. And so it's a lucid dream, and I can walk around these places and remember where I went the last time I had the dream. Just weird stuff like that. I dreamed I worked at a dentist in a weird location. I wasn't a dentist, but a supply manager for it, and the dentist was located in the middle of the highway between the two lanes of the highway, and there was walls. The highway had walls. Interesting. Thoughts on Xbox raising the price of Game Pass? I think it's crap, but then again, me and Nate had already canceled our memberships a couple of months ago, so had no effect on us. Retro Code TV, I gotta go. I'll be back. All right, Retro. We'll see you then. What's the biggest graphical leap to you? Probably PS2 to PS3 was the biggest graphical leap. Well, no. It was probably going from 16 to 32-bit, because you were going from 2D graphics to 3D. So that was probably the biggest leap, was going from Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis to N64, PS1, and Sega Saturn. Doom Eternal had some of the best updates with mods and a level editor. I couldn't care less about Mortal Kombat Collection. I couldn't either. I'm not that big of a fighting game fan. Never have been. I liked playing Mortal Kombat against my friends because I would spam them with Scorpion and it would piss them off. And so that's where I would get my fun, was from, they'd sit and practice with these characters and practice, and then I'd go in and spam them with Scorpion, and it would just infuriate them. Probably couldn't do that anymore, though. My hands are starting to get bad. Can't play guitar as good as I used to either. Getting old. And my hands don't work as well as they used to. Next wave is augmented reality. Until we get the levels of the holodeck from Star Trek, I'm going to be skeptical. Yeah, it's going to be a while before we have anything like that. Thoughts on the Paranormal Activity movies? I liked that series until they had to expand it past the original characters, and it just started to get more and more dumb. I'm glad they ended it. I was getting tired of it. because it didn't feel like the overarching plot was really going anywhere. What's your favorite 2D side scroller? Probably Mega Man 2 or Bionic Commando, one of those. Sorry, not Mortal Kombat. I meant Mario Kart World. What? Okay. Better to spend $360 on games you get to keep. True. I noticed that such PS5 launch titles like Demon Souls Remake and Ratchet Clank Rift in Time are visually more impressive than most recent games. Yeah. Well, Ghosts of Yote or Yotai or whatever is graphically impressive. But then again, to me, it just looks like the previous game on PS4 at 60 frames per second with a sharper image. I don't know how else to put it. Same thing with God of War Ragnarok. It just looked like the previous PS4 game at 60 frames per second with a sharper image. You know, it wasn't like going from Super Mario 3 to Super Mario World, where there was an obvious graphical leap there. You know, Spider-Man looked like Spider-Man 2, or Spider-Man 2 looked like Spider-Man. God of War Ragnarok looked like God of War. Ghosts of Yotai looks like Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, one big difference was Ratchet Clank Rift Apart obviously looked way better than Ratchet and Clank 2016. Definitely an obvious improvement. And Demon Souls Remake looked vastly superior to the PS3 original in every way. Doesn't play as good, but looks definitely way better. Well, obviously it runs at a smoother frame rate and it has way less glitches and whatnot, but the gameplay feels, I know they try to say that it's the same gameplay, but it's not quite the same. There's some differences there. Let's see here. Thoughts on the Wolverine game coming next year? I'd be surprised if we see it next year, but hopefully we will. Hopefully they can keep to that. It's seeming to me like we might see Intergalactic sooner than anyone was saying, because it leaked this week that they are doing they're already doing the localization. And so if they're already doing localization, then they're way farther along in development than they've let on. So, we may get a release date on it at the Game Awards. Just goes to show that most developers are not taking full advantage of the PS5 hardware. Yeah, not even first-party ones. Not even first-party ones. But then again, it's hard to say because first-party development for the PS5, it's all been remakes and sequels. There haven't been any new first-party IP. Not even Astrobot, because Astrobot was just the latest Astrobot game, and they've been making Astrobot games since the previous gen. Astrobot was on the original PlayStation VR. So even it was a sequel, in a way. A great sequel. I love that game. It's one of my favorite games this generation. But, think about it. Think back. They've just continued what they started on the PS4. Almost everything first party on the PS4 was a sequel to a series that started either on the PS2 or the PS3. Infamous started on PS3. Hold on. Magic Powers. Killzone started on PS3. There hasn't been a whole lot of originality out of Sony in a long time because they don't want to take risks. I mean, look what happened with Concord. That was a new IP and it bombed. Of course, that wasn't really first party. The game was almost complete already, and then they bought the company that was making it. Not quite the same thing. Not quite the same thing. But and they don't own the studio that made Helldivers. So there hasn't been like new original IP worth a damn out of Sony in forever. Because they're playing it safe. Let's just have endless sequels. Let's run God of War into the ground. When we get Wolverine, that's going to be like the first new original IP. And of course, it's not a new IP. It's just a new series. But it'll be the first new series, first-party series that Sony has put out in a long ass time, because they've been coasting, afraid to take risks. That's right. Killzone started on PS2. Yeah, sorry about that. God of War, and I was thinking of Resistance. Resistance started on PS3. My fault. I got my first party. And even then, Resistance wasn't first party. It was second party because they didn't own Insomniac when Resistance started. So, I'm old and I'm tired. Oh, and that reminds me. We have 2 hours remaining of the 3-hour show. We are $33 short of extending by 1 hour. Let us continue. From Nicholas Little, Ghosts of Yotai. I have no interest in it due to the controversy with the actress and so on. Yeah, I wanted to see more of Jin. And according to 8th, you do find out what happened to Jin, and they gave him like the most dull, unimpressive end to his story in this game. They explain what happened to him after the end of Ghost of Tsushima. You find out through exposition what happened to him, and it's so lame. It's so lame. He basically gets bullied off the island because people are trying to hunt for him, and him and that woman end up becoming a couple, and they flee to some other island and build themselves a little cabin and live their lives in exile. And that's what happens to Jin from the first game. Yay, right? Did you see the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer? I don't care about it. I I haven't watched the trailer, no. Out of that, I need to switch to tea with my Game Chasers mug here. Game Chasers. Yet another thing I got from Billy. Have a good night, 7th. See you next time. Thanks for coming by, Knucklehead. I appreciate you, and thanks for the donation. Of course, this will be on replay, so if you want to watch the rest of it later, you can. Because that's how I roll. It destroys me in the algorithm, but that's how I roll. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why my channel sucks now and no one watches it, is because, unlike others, I don't delete my streams when I'm done. I leave them there for people to be able to rewatch them. And because of that, the algorithm thinks that there's only 300 to 500 people that care about my show. and so it's destroyed my viewership to do it that way. But I don't care. I don't care. There are some people out there that are fans of mine that wouldn't be able to know what's going on if I didn't leave those replays up for them to be able to watch. So uh, it means I don't have a big audience anymore, but I don't care. That's just the way I roll. Hi there, Bill. Better to spin 360. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I tell you, Bill. I tell you. Hello, Blaze. What's my thoughts on Borderlands 4? I don't consider it a failure. I mean, maybe it's sales wise it is. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to that. But it's definitely better than Borderlands 3. Yeah, it's got some glitches and problems, but you know, uh, story wise, it's better than Borderlands 3. The one thing that I don't like about it is it has enemy scaling in it, so you never really feel like you're progressing unless you take advantage of every exploit in the system to buff yourself up, like uh, manipulating your build to where you're getting 3 million damage per hit with certain weapons and stats and stuff. But just in the fact of leveling up and whatnot, the enemies scale now to whatever level you're at, and so you never really feel just in your the physicality of your character like you're uh, progressing. You just always feel like you're barely strong enough to kill everything on screen without manipulating the system, like I just said. And that was something that you could turn off on Borderlands 3, so that if you're not strong enough to beat this section now, you can come back later after you've leveled up 15 times and you're one shot killing everything. You could do that in the previous games. You can't do that in this one because you can't turn the enemy scaling off. So, for me, that kind of ruins some of the fun of it, because I don't like to sit and, if I combine this with this and combine that with that because that weapon is glitched, then I can have infinite ammo and infinite this and infinite that and kill everything with one hit. I don't like doing it that way. I just like to level up until I'm strong enough to fight what I couldn't fight before, and that's broken in this game because they've made the enemy leveling not an option. The scaling is not an option anymore. It just is. Hi, Nate. How's it going? How's it going, Nate? I've been better. I've been better. But I appreciate you coming to watch. I appreciate you coming to watch. Keep the questions coming, folks. Keep the questions coming. What's your thoughts on Boogie 290? Oh, God. I never could watch his content. It always seemed annoying, and he leaves me with a bad impression. I don't like his content now compared to what he used to be. I got into Boogie when he was doing the whole Francis thing, and I always thought the Francis thing was funny. I knew right away it was fake, but I thought it was funny. I do not like Lolcow Live. I do not like Keemstar. I can respect that Keemstar has hustle and that he's kind of built himself a little online empire. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the work that he puts into it, but I don't care too much for him as a person, as a human being, especially in regards to garnering views and attention off of the death of my friend. I have a serious problem with that. And Keemstar will tell you that that's all Boogie, and I strongly suspect that that is bullshit. I have issue with Boogie getting involved on dragging Billy into that stuff too. And I told him so because I know Boogie through Retropalooza, and so we follow each other on social media, and we're all up in each other's DMs and whatnot. So when all this stuff with Billy on Lolcow Live started, I I didn't make it a secret how I felt about it to Boogie. So he and I are currently not speaking. I mean, I'm speaking to him, but he is no longer replying. So he's, I don't know, maybe a little upset with me, or he knows that he's in the wrong with me, and so he's not going to bother to get into it with me because he knows he'd have no argument. So if it wasn't for your post on Facebook, I wouldn't know you were live. Yeah, I don't understand that, Nate. I don't know. It's just something stupid that YouTube's doing. It's, I mean, yeah. Do you see 14,000 people in here? No. That's because I have 14,000 subscribers, but 14,000 people are not getting the notification that I'm live. And so that's why there's only ever a handful of people in here. Because most of the people that are subbed to me don't know that I stream. You don't mind me asking, and you don't have to comment on this, but why haven't we heard from Alpha in regards to Billy's passing? Alpha has left the online world behind. He has built a life for himself now. He has a family and he has responsibilities. And I just don't think he has any interest any longer in dipping his toe back into YouTube or video making. And that's why we haven't heard from him. He's probably, I'm sure that Jay has been in touch with him or someone's been in touch with him, but he's choosing to mourn in silence, I suppose. I can't stand Review Tech USA. Well, you're not alone there. I don't have a problem with him. I've never had any real beef with Rich, but you know, that's why you're the man. You stand it. Well, don't call me a hero, son. I saw the stream YouTube recommended to me. I don't know. Some people get it and some people don't. I don't know why. You know, I would assume by now that Nate has gone in and clicked the little bell notification to be notified on everything that I do, but I don't know. It could be that there's been so many times, Nate, where the system did recommend something I'd done to you, but you didn't click on it, that it is assumed that you aren't interested in my content anymore. It could be that. I don't know. How many of y'all knew that I had released the new Game Room Tour video yesterday? Anybody watch it? Did y'all know that that's on my channel now? The game, new Game Room Tour video. Alpha made a post about Billy on his Instagram. See, I don't have Instagram, so I wouldn't know. I do Facebook and Twitter. I have an Instagram account, but I never use it for anything. I never use it for anything. You watched it. It's a great video. I'm glad you watched it. Master Roshi, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Because, man, it ain't getting crap for views. Normally that video would be headed towards, 5, 6, 7,000 views already. But it hasn't even, last I checked it, it hadn't even broken 300 views. Now explain that one to me. I don't know. I don't get it. It's just another example of how the YouTube algorithm is doing me lately, that I can post a video like that and absolutely nothing comes of it. That, to me, that's just, I don't know. It's disheartening because, me and 8th really worked hard on that video. We put several hours into it. And nobody's watching it, I mean, even the one that I did 2 years ago in 2023 made it to almost 3,000 views, and which that's still pathetic compared to what I used to get, but it was something. And this one's not even making it, It's not even made it to 1,000 views yet. That's sad. You watched the new game room tour with the biggest jar of Vaseline you could find. Well, I'm glad you got a little something extra out of it. I'm a total idiot. I really thought the bell was on. You can tar and feather me now. It's all right. I forget to do it all the time too. I forget to do it all the time. Hopefully it'll be better for you now. Hopefully. Hopefully that'll get the job done. And anyone else that's watching, it's not enough to be subscribed. Make sure you're clicking on the bell. So anytime I do anything, you'll be notified about it. Because I still, the next video up is going to be my DBTS of Mafia, the old world, or the old country. That's what's coming next. I'll try to have that done by the end of the week, depending on how work goes. Because I've been looking back yesterday. I took a little tour of my back catalog, and one thing has been consistent for years. Once I stopped the console war stuff, once I stopped doing the whole Trey Brotherhood thing, the DBTS series has been my biggest viewed series. Every video that I have ever done, for the most part, that's gotten over 20,000 views has been a DBTS. And so that's probably, I know at one point I created a new channel for that, but nobody subbed to it. So I'm just going to bring DBTS back into this channel, and I'm going to start doing that. The problem with DBTS is that means that, I have to spend the money to buy these games I know I'm not going to like. So, I can't afford to buy every crappy game out there. Not an easy thing to do. And, I talked with Billy about it, and he was like, well, you don't have memberships or anything. You should start up memberships. And I'm like, I'm not big enough for memberships. I'm not big enough for that. And I don't have enough stuff to offer to make it worthwhile being a member. So, maybe eventually I'll come up with something, but I think right now I'm just going to focus on doing DBTS videos and just see what happens. And if all I ever have is a small loyal following and I get, 3,000 or 5,000 views on them, that'll have to do. That'll have to do. Anyway, we're right at 7:30, so we've got an hour and a half to go, and we're still $33 short of being able to extend the show by another hour. Now, again, like I say, all these donations that we're getting right now, all of this is going to go towards funding the Retropalooza trip in December. And yes, I will be filming while I'm there. Me and 8th will be filming. And so we'll, try to capture as much of as we can to document, Billy's friends and them coming together in memory of him. We'll try to capture that as much as we can, and it's not going to be some kind of tasteful memorial documentary kind of thing, because Billy was a clown. He was a jokester, and he clowned and joked around with his friends all the time. So this is anything that I try to capture, it's not going to be a somber thing. We want to capture who he was as a person, and so the fun and the joking and the clowning and all that, we'll try to include that as much as we can in what we film. Use PlayStation Plus to do DBTS. Shame you didn't make more when you had Game Pass. Yeah, I know. I was, I would have liked to. I had some things to say about Avowed. I really did. Oh well. Maybe now that all of it is slowly getting ported over to PS5, I only use Facebook for birthdays. I get that. I was able to download all of Billy's live streams, around 290 of them. It'll be nice to revisit those at some point. Right now, it's too hard to watch. Man, that's some dedication right there. That's some dedication. So you have it forever saved. Uh, when I would get him mad at things that I donated. There's you a project, Glenn, for when you're able to go back and revisit. Make a compilation video of all the times that I trolled Billy with crappy games. There's you a project, Glenn. You have my blessing and go ahead to make a video chronicling how many times I pissed Billy off with crappy games. I think he would find that funny. I would like to watch that. I think I would really enjoy watching that. Because sometimes I would get him so worked up with with the games that I'd make him play that I would lose my breath laughing at them. Yeah, I would laugh so hard that I was gasping for air, laughing at Seventh, you son of a bitch! This game sucks. Oh God, I loved him. I still love him. What shitty games did I make him play? My favorite. Billy loved for people to pay for him to play UN Squadron. UN Squadron was his absolute favorite side-scrolling shmup. And it was his favorite because he could beat it. And so it was, a bragging right to him that he could beat UN Squadron. But it got to the point where he was being paid to play UN Squadron every damn week. And his method of beating it was that he would farm and play the levels over and over to gain up enough to buy all the stuff that he needed to survive the hardest levels. And so it took him a while to beat the game. It's not like, watching Jay, where, Jay you pay Jay $2, he'll play the game for a little bit and then he'll go to the next game. If it's a game that Billy is really into, he would play through the whole game. And so, here we were having to watch him beat UN Squadron over and over and over and over. And I got so tired of watching him play that game. And so at first, I would just recommend other stuff that he hadn't necessarily played before. Like I would ask him to play Thunder Force 4 and stuff like that, or Lightning Force instead of UN Squadron. But people just kept going back to the same stuff. They'd have him play Turtles in Time. They'd have him play UN Squadron. They'd have him play Super Mario 3 and Ninja Turtles 3 on NES. And Ninja Gaiden. They'd have him try to No Death Ninja Gaiden. It's just the same handful of 5 or 6 games over and over and over and over again. So finally, I decided that every time someone paid for him to play UN Squadron, I would immediately pay to make him play Sword of Sodan on the Sega Genesis, which, by the way, is the worst Sega Genesis game there is. There are none worse than Sword of Sodan. It is the absolute bottom of the Genesis barrel. And so every time someone donated for that, you would then see me, UN Squadron tax, play Sword of Sodan. And Billy hated that game. He hated it with a passion. And he had never played it before I made him play that game. And so, 7th, you son of a bitch. And that wasn't the only one. I became a connoisseur of crappy 8 and 16-bit games, you know. And so there were some nights where I would pay for him to play 8 or 9 just terrible games, just one after the next. It got to the point where if he saw me donate, he knew he was about to have to play a piece of shit. He knew. But, he was making money off of me, so I mean, I didn't feel guilty about it whatsoever. And it's not like he was like legit mad, because we talk all the time. You guys don't understand. I'm not saying that to Billy, I was his friend on the level of Jay or Wood or any of those. Obviously I wasn't that to him, you know, but he was on that level to me because of the way my life is, because of the fact that I'm a recluse and I'm living in a state that I didn't grow up in, and all of my childhood friends are either estranged from me or dead or live 1,500 miles away. And both Billy and I worked from home, and so we would chat, online through DMs in Twitter or DMs in Facebook or what have you, on and off a lot. And that became kind of part of my work routine. Is, I'd do some work and then I'd check in with him and see what he was doing. And I'd do some work and I'd check in with one of my other friends. I'd do some work and then I'd follow up on the conversation. And so that became my life for years. I mean, I started talking to him before we ever moved here. And the Game Chasers and Game Sack helped keep me awake when I was working third shift up in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's how long I'd been talking with Billy. And, I never really talked with Jay that much until we moved here. And Billy, as I mentioned in the previous cast, he convinced me to come here. Instead of just taking my severance and trying to find another job in Charlotte, or heaven forbid going to Atlanta, he talked me into coming to Texas. And so he became a regular part of my life. And yeah, I only was ever hanging out with him in person a handful of times, because we lived, 2 to 3 hours away from each other. But for a recluse who never goes anywhere and who most of their human interaction is online, for me, I saw Billy almost every day. And so it hit hard for me. I'm not saying that Billy looked at me as a best friend, because I know he didn't. I was just a friend, just like, he had several friends online, but for me, he was like a best friend. So it's just kind of and I'm not asking anyone to understand that, because my life is just so non-standard and weird. I don't expect Jay or Chris or Melvor or Rob or Wood. I don't expect any of them to understand that, or to even be able to relate to it, Because I would imagine that, at least one of them is, not taking that seriously. That I was just, another friend of the show kind of thing. And as far as Billy's concerned, that maybe that was the way he looked at it. I mean, I can only go by, what he told me in conversations over the years. But, I would fully understand if they would think, well, why is 7th getting so upset over this? And we can count on two hands the amount of times he was ever in the same room with Billy. I can understand that. I can fully understand that. But that's not what it was for me. especially because he reminded me so much of my best friend growing up, Brandon, in in his personality and his sense of humor, in his tastes in music and movies and things like that. He reminded me a lot of Brandon, and Brandon was taller than me too. Not as tall as Billy was, but he was taller. Although when I first met Brandon, I was taller than him by half a foot. And then when he hit 16, he suddenly had this massive growth spurt. The next thing I know, he's like 2 or 3 inches taller than me. Now Billy was like something like 8 or 9 inches taller than me. He was massive. He was like 6'4". And Chris is even taller. Chris is taller than Billy was by 2 or 3 inches. But I knew Billy. I mean, the first, I actually started talking to him like around 2014. After it was the year after the don't buy the DBTS of the Xbox One video came out and went viral. I ran into him on Twitter, and we'd had some interactions because he was having people share pictures of their game room, and that's he had messaged me about the DBTS video, but the first time we actually had like conversation was from that everybody post your game room thing that he did on Twitter one day, and we started talking then, but I didn't really get into his actual channel until around 2015, I think, like a couple of years later or a year later, because it just didn't click for me for some reason. But so we're talking about we've been acquaintances for 12 years. We've been what I would consider friends for about 10 or 11 years. And close friends, I would say, starting probably in 2018, the year after I moved here. Because I think that started when I invited them over here when they needed footage for their video, and I invited them over here, and I just take it. Big price of nothing. Just take it. That seemed to click for Billy up here. And that's when we really started talking a lot more behind the scenes. And he would talk. This was something that he would say over and over. I don't talk to anybody else about this kind of thing. I only talk to you about this. And I'm, well, why? And he's like, I know you would never say anything. I know you would never say anything. And I never really believed that. I never thought that, he was telling me something that he wouldn't tell to Jay or to Chris or whatnot. But he would say that a lot. I would never tell. I don't talk to anyone else about this kind of thing. And usually when he'd say that, it would be just something that's bothering him, something that had gotten him down or made him depressed, or it would be his political leanings, which I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to share any of that, because what somebody believes politically, as long as they're not like some nut job or a legitimate Nazi. What a person believes politically shouldn't factor in to whether they're your friend or not. You can be friends with someone and not agree with some of their political views, and so there are things that he would talk to me about that had to do with his political thoughts and his opinions about what was going on in the world and things of that nature. And I think when he would say, I don't talk to anyone else about this, it's like he was just trying to say, you know, you're not just another guy that I know on the internet. Even if it wasn't necessarily true that he didn't talk to anyone else about this kind of stuff, because obviously he would talk to his family about it. Obviously he would talk to his wife, you know, but it was just his way of saying, uh, to me, you're not just another guy that shows up in the chat. You're not just another guy that shows up to Retropalooza. That's what he was trying to say to me. And then, of course, at the end of his life, uh, you know, uh, when he was staring eternity in the face, and he didn't want there to be any ambiguity about how he felt about some people, he sent me a message and let me know how he felt about me. And that's all I need. But I know that, there's some people that have looked at, me doing a 6-hour podcast after he passed away and thinking to themselves, Billy was at his house twice and he saw him at a couple of Retropaloozas a year. And he didn't even show up for 2020 through 2022. And I get it. But, in the life that I lead and the way that I have to live it, him and Brian are the two best friends that I had. And honestly, I don't really get to see Brian any more than I got to see Billy because of his work schedule. Brian is one of the hardest working people I know. He's one of the hardest working people I've ever known. He is always working on something. And his job, the hours that he has to work, I'm not going to tell you what he does for a living. You don't need to know that, but I couldn't do it. There's no way I could do it. Even when I was fit and in shape, I couldn't have done the job that he does. And I have tremendous respect for Brian. And I hate that I don't get to see him any more than I do, even when he only lives, 35, 45 minutes away from here. He lives on the other side of town, out in the boonies. But I've never even been to his house. He comes over here. I've never been over there. The opportunity has just never presented itself because he is so busy. But I don't even me and Brian, we communicate via text 2 or 3 times a week, maybe at most. With Billy, it was almost every day, and sometimes it was just weird, wacky stuff like taking a picture of his kneecap and trying to convince me that it was his ball sack, and just weird stuff like that. He was quirky. He was a quirky dude, and he had a quirky sense of humor, which my sense of humor is kind of a cross between him and just really bad dad jokes. But like I would be sitting on the toilet, and I would film myself ripping a fart into the toilet, and I would send that to Billy, and he'd be like, "What the literal fuck?" And he would send me weird shit. I'm not going to get into some of the stuff that he sent me, but he'd send me some weird stuff. Billy, in some ways, was like Eric. You could almost dare Billy to do anything. What happens at the con stays at the con, and he kind of kept me separated from that because he also knew that when he first met me, 8th was still barely a teenager, and so obviously he wasn't going to invite me to things that I couldn't bring my teenager along with. Some of the extracurricular activities that would go on at the cons. he would keep me out of those things because he knew that I couldn't bring Eighth along, and I couldn't leave Eighth alone in the hotel room. So, you know, there were some misadventures over the years that he was involved in that I was not there to see. I would hear about it after the fact. So we'd be sitting at his table the next morning, well, the next afternoon, because he wouldn't show up till like noon or 1 o'clock the next day because it kicked his ass so hard. But he'd be sitting there and he'd be telling me about some of the whacked out stuff that happened the night before. And yeah, it. I can't repeat any of it, but good lord, good lord. Uh, hey AKO Max, how's it going, son? I wonder what the Game Chasers and the Trey Brotherhood guys like Solid Rev and Black Bond thought about each other. Uh, Billy had no concept of what I used to do. When he discovered me, the Trey Brotherhood stuff was over with, and I was doing reviews. That's what he knew me for, was my reviews. He didn't know about the whole Trey Brotherhood thing. You know, by the time he found me, I'd already transferred to my second channel in 2012. But he learned about it eventually because, one, if they had somebody that was like trolling them or messing with them, he would send me that person's user ID and I would go take care of it. And I did that not just for, and I don't think Eric would mind me saying that. I didn't do that just for Billy and Jay. I did that for Eric when Eric was getting harassed, and I did it for Wood when Wood was being harassed. You know, if they had somebody that was giving them a hard time, Billy would sick me on them, and I'd go take care of it. So, you know, he knew that I had a skill for that. He hadn't actually seen me do it, but he knew I had a skill at it. And the first time he watched me do it on Twitter, when I told him that first time I saw what was going on, I was like, let me take care of this. And I went and took care of it. And he was like, I am never, ever, ever going to piss you off. But I took care of it regardless. But he didn't really know what I had done prior to doing those reviews until I did the Trey for Life documentary series. And he loved that series. He watched every single episode of it. And he told me, this is the best thing you've ever made. I was like, well, gee, thanks. But yeah, he really loved Trey for Life. He thought it was really good. So that was a crowning moment for me, is that, you know, even though none of those videos even made it past 1,000 views, it was Billy's favorite thing that I'd ever done. So, you know, I'm still proud of it to this day, because, you know, some of the things that I did stylistically were things I picked up from watching him. So there was a little bit of Billy in that documentary series, things that I learned how to do as far as pacing and writing and various things from him. Let's see here. Well, Brother Natural, they were two very separate entities in the gaming community. I was the only thing that linked the Game Chasers to the Crumbside / YouTube console war community, because they didn't know who El Presidor was. They didn't know who Solid Rev was. The only person that connected them to all of that was me. And even then, Jay is oblivious to it. Billy knew about it, but Jay didn't. If you ask Jay to this day what I originally did on YouTube, he wouldn't be able to tell you, because he doesn't watch YouTube. Jay is not a YouTube fan. He doesn't watch a lot of YouTube from other YouTubers. So not only would he not know what I used to do, he wouldn't care what I used to do. From Bill Bones, Billy seems like a pretty stand-up guy, and I'm glad you were so loyal and friendly towards him. I looked at him like a little brother, man. a much taller little brother that I had to look up to whether I wanted to or not. That's how I viewed him. Because, I mean, you know, I'm not saying I had a tremendous amount of life experience over him. We're only talking about a gap of 3.5 years. I was a senior when he was a freshman. Big whoop. But that's how I viewed him, was just as a sibling that I never had, because I was an only child. I didn't have any brothers or sisters. Hi, Sage J. How's it going? 7th dropping one of his eye-watering colossal turds again. Yes. Guard Dog 7th. That's right. Jude knows I was a mod on Billy's streams. And I was not in any way hesitant about laying down the ban hammer. I would ban the crap out of anybody that had as much as a negative word to say to him or about him or anyone associated with him when he was streaming. I did my damnedest to make sure that he never saw that shit. Every now and again, one would get past me, or especially if, I was having to be on call, so I couldn't be on his stream. I wasn't, I didn't see every stream. There was some streams where I just wasn't there. And, both me and Jude, we were mods. And she can tell you, I had no mercy at all. I can be a vicious son of a bitch when I want to be. Hello, 7th. Can't walk right now, but like all your electronics, I'm always listening. I think you meant can't talk right now, QB. But I appreciate it, QB. And I haven't forgot about you. I've got the script for the Mafia review done. Got the script done. I've got the footage captured. I just need to put it all together and record the audio, and it'll be done. I'm going to try to get that done by this next weekend, and then post it the following Monday or Tuesday. That's the initial plan. Has there been any word on the Ninja Turtles' last Ronin game? I haven't seen anything. Nothing concrete. Just a lot of speculation and rumor. I haven't seen anything concrete on that. I mean, I'd even heard that they were working on a movie for it, but I don't know if that's true or not either. I'm not sure if that's true or not either. I'd be more than happy to be a mod for Jay, but of course Jay hasn't streamed in a long time, and it's it might be a while before we see him stream again. That being said, one of the things that 8th is helping me do in regards to OBS, let me cover up my tattoos here. In case y'all never seen them, I've got Descendants and All on this arm. And then I've got my 7th Voodoo Glow Skull, my 7th Voodoo Skull tattoo on here. Somebody on Facebook made a suggestion, and I'm thinking about doing it. I'm not sure where I would do it. I've talked to you guys about what Billy messaged me the night before he passed, where he wanted to know how my heart was doing, and he said, how's your ticker? And somebody suggested that I should get "How's your ticker" tattooed somewhere in memory of him, and so I'm kind of looking into that. I'm taking that suggestion seriously. So, maybe above Milo's head right here. How's your ticker? Get it right here. I'm thinking about doing that. But anyway, 8th is helping me get everything set up for retro streaming again. So I've got my Polymega right here. Polymega. Got my Polymega right here. I've got all of my NES games installed on it, all my Genesis, all my Super Nintendo, all my Sega Saturn, all my PS1 games. Everything that this system supports, I already have all the games installed on it. And it's already hooked up to the Elgato and everything. We just got to finish setting up the other instance of OBS, my other setup for game streaming. And now it's not going to have the look that Billy's had, where he had like the old TV and all that stuff. Mine's going to have just more of a not a retro look, but almost like a Tronish look, I guess you could say. It's nothing special. It's just a template that I downloaded from Streamlabs. But 8th is helping me get all that set up so that I will be able to do game streaming. And but I'm not ready to do that yet because I'm afraid if I started doing that too soon, that there'd be people out there that would think I was trying to replace Billy somehow, since Billy was doing that almost weekly. I mean, he was starting to scale back from it. And honestly, I think it was because he was getting to where he didn't feel like doing it anymore. But I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to replace him. So I'm going to give that a little while before I start dipping my toe into that. There's been a lot of you who have asked me to do that, and I appreciate that and I'm down for it, but I just don't feel comfortable doing it just yet. Give it another month, maybe in November I'll be feeling up for trying that. Giving y'all, because I know a lot of y'all, that was your Saturday night. It was my Saturday night too. I know a lot of y'all would watch me, and then you'd transfer over, and when his stream would start, you'd watch him. I did the same thing. So, but I don't want to do the 7thCast and then do, game streaming too. So it's not going to be on a Saturday night. It's going to be on another night, because it's either that or the 7thCast would have to move to another night, and I would do game streaming on Saturday night. But I don't want to do that either. So we'll figure that out when the time comes. And, y'all's opinion is going to matter in regards to that. Oh, and by the way, we have 1 hour left to go. We are still $33 short of the $50 goal to extend by 1 hour. So if we don't hit another $33 in the next 60 minutes, then once 60 minutes is done, that's when I will be leaving y'all for the evening. Let's see here. I know, Jude. I know you were protective of him too. Head looking very clean today. Was there an occasion? I just felt like shaving it all off. I shaved it all off for the game room tour. How many of y'all have not watched the game room tour I uploaded yesterday? Y'all have been wanting to see the new game room or the new game house for 2.5 years. Well, since we moved in a year ago. It's up. Have y'all not watched it yet? Because I can tell from the views that a bunch of you haven't. From Jude, I wonder if Billy's wife has examples of his handwriting so you could get AI to make the text in his handwriting. If she did, I doubt she'd give it to me, Jude. She knows me because I watched their son for her at the last Retropalooza that I was at, and we had spoken at previous Retropaloozas before that one, but I tried to friend her over a year ago on Facebook, and she didn't reject it, but she never answered it either. So I don't JV Shada. I only have like 5 or 6 N64 games. But yes, they're on my Polymega. I heard AI can code really well these days. Well, with some things it can. But I'm not a coder. That's not what I work in IT, but that's not the kind of IT work I do. I'm not a developer. I'm an analyst. Now that you brought up tattoos, I think you could pull off a really good Bam Bam Bigelow cosplay. Gee, thanks. Appreciate you. Is it true that the Game Chasers were offered a major TV network deal to buy their show but declined the offer because the executive producers wanted Billy and Jay to start scripting their shows? It's true that they had multiple conversations with multiple networks, like Travel Channel, A&E, that kind of thing. But it always boiled down to the fact that they refused to fake anything. That, if they went out and didn't find anything, then that's what was going to be on the episode, that they didn't find anything. And none of the networks they talked to were interested in that. They wanted there to always be something that they found, even if they had to fake it. And Billy and Jay wouldn't budge on it, and so they were that close to being an actual show on cable that you could go watch, but they wouldn't budge on that, and I don't blame them. I know you watched it, Nate. Haven't gotten around to watching it yet, but I'll watch it later today. Why you? She's very private, from what Billy told me. I think Jay spoke about that on the stream ages. Yeah. She was always very friendly to me, but as far as I can tell, there's only maybe 14 people out of that whole world that she friended on Facebook. Just a very small number of people. And I ain't one of them. And like I said, she never rejected me. She just never answered it. She just left it floating out there. So, I know there's no animosity between me and her. There never has been. She just didn't know me very well. But she knew that Billy trusted me. And so she trusted me to keep an eye on a little bit while she was off doing other things. So he would just sit with me and play video games, and I'd keep an eye on him and make sure that he didn't go anywhere. I do have some level of experience in taking care of a kid, don't you know? He's a cute kid, too, and he's smart little guy. It's almost the plot of Wayne's World. Well, all right. Kinda, Bill, kinda. They came that... I don't even think that their show needed that, per se, because of how good Billy was at what he does. But, they could have had that level of success, but they weren't willing to compromise on their principles. And I really respect that. I really respect that. What you want? What you want, girl? What you want? You want back up here? Come on. There you go. Okay. Nom, 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 nom. Okay. Okay. I know. You'd rather me be sitting over there in the recliner so you could lay on me and use me for furniture. I know, Puggy. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. You got stinky breath today. You got stinky breath. Okay. You're gonna purr like a cat. You're gonna purr like a cat today, huh? You're gonna purr like a cat. Oh, what you hear? What you hear? Did you hear something? I know it's not 8th. I know it's not your dada. He's spending the night with friends. His best friend moved into a new apartment. He's helping them celebrate. That's right. That's right. You want to play ball? Huh? Where's your ball? Where'd your ball go? Oh, you don't want to play ball now? Okay. 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 No, I don't want another dog. We had another dog when we got Alex, and they didn't get along. They didn't get along, and eventually he had to be put down because he was like 16 years old. But okay, all right. Well, I only call her a little bit. Her name is Alex, Aly. Oh, you're talking about Billy's son. Sorry, this is Alex. Billy's son. I call him Little Bit because I don't want to use his name on stream. I'm just maintaining his privacy there. You really saw how much Billy loved him when he came into Billy's game room. Yep. And like I said, he's a smart kid. And the thing that got to me was Regina told him to call me Mr. Seventh. So that's why it says on my Twitter, they call me Mr. Seventh. It was because of him. So a little bit would come up to me, Mr. Seventh, can I play your game, please? And that just stole my heart, calling me Mr. Seventh. And like I said, that was something that Regina started. So I thought that was so cute. And, I just adored the kid. And so I had no problem keeping an eye on him when they needed me to. What you got? You got the ball? Did you get the ball? That's my ball. That ain't your ball. I'm on. Do you think they'll continue making more episodes? I don't think so. I think it would be, my personal opinion is that it would be in Little Bit's best interest for some kind of new material to be posted on the site to keep the channel active on the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for subscribing, Noodles. I appreciate it. Because, if they stop putting new content on the channel, the algorithm will abandon it. And so it'll get to the point where even if someone wanting to reminisce or want to learn about the Game Chasers that were never watching them when they were still making them, will search for Game Chasers on YouTube and won't be able to find it because the algorithm is going to bury it. Now, if Billy did tell them as his last wishes that he wanted the channel memorialized and no more new material posted to it, okay. But that's also something that could be a revenue stream to save up as like a trust fund for a little bit, But that's not going to happen if they don't continue to put some kind of new content on there. Because without new content, the YouTube algorithm will bury it. And it'll just be a dead channel that's not recommended to anybody when they search for retro gaming or anything else. But again, it's not my channel. All of that is up to Regina. If it were me, and I had a partner who still made content, I would want him to post some kind of content on there, even if it was just a series memorializing my partner in crime, stories about things that he did, that kind of thing, and not like still doing episodes of going out hunting for games, but just videos talking about Billy. I would do that just to keep ad revenue coming in for a little bit, for like a college fund or something. Because there's definitely not going to be DVD sales and t-shirt sales and all of that if there's no new content going on. Because without new content, YouTube won't recommend it to people looking for retro gaming content. So there won't be new subscribers or anything like that. But you also have to respect Billy's wishes. And if his wishes were, let's just retire the Game Chaser channel and memorialize it, And if Jay wants to continue going out and hunting games on and making videos, they can start a new channel for that. If that's what he wanted, then that's what he wanted. Again, all I know is what he told me 6 months ago or so, which was that he felt that the show had 10 more episodes in it, that he could take it up to 100 episodes, and then he wanted to start focusing on other things, primarily the second movie. He wanted to be a filmmaker. I'm going to be discovering your state next month. Oh, you're coming to Texas, Judith? You're coming to Texas? You should postpone it till December so you can come to Retropalooza. That's when you should come to Texas, not November. You should come to Texas in December. Totally get that. I wouldn't want my kid's name out there either. Yeah, I don't have permission to say that kind of thing, so I'm not going to. Monsters Backpack, just subscribe. Thank you, Monsters Backpack. Appreciate you. Thanks for the sub. I started watching the Game Chasers very recently. It's not bad, and their views are really good, even more than their sub count. Jay could try transitioning into streaming. I have no idea. He seems pretty independent, not like a DSP that wants to beg 8 hours a day. Yeah, he doesn't do that. I am going to North Texas. Are you going to be there for Retropalooza in December, Jude? Because I will be there. I'm going to be at Retropalooza. You can come meet my 51-year-old fat ass. My half-crippled 51-year... Ow! You little shit. Yeah, Jay marches to the beat of his own drum. And, he doesn't really seem to... He's not the type that is trying to... exploit his audience or anything like DSP. Either you want to support him or you don't. As long as you watch is his main thing. And I respect that about him. I'm kind of the same way. That new poster for Retropalooza was amazing. Yeah, that was a great poster. Stop putting yourself down. I'm not putting myself down. I'm telling you the truth. I am a fat ass. I am over 300 pounds on a 5'8" frame. I'm not doing well physically at all. It hurts to walk. It hurts to sleep. I can't sleep in a bed anymore. I have to sleep in a recliner because of how bad my back is. I'm having heart problems now. I have to go get fitted for a heart monitor this week to try to confirm whether or not I have atrial fib. I'm not doing all that great. I'll have to convince my other half. Well, Jay was just happy to make enough money to pay for beer when he streamed. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of that's more or less the format that I'm going to follow when I start streaming games. Is I'll pick out a game and start playing that, and if someone wants to see another game, they can pay for me to play it, and I'll make a list, just like Billy, just like Jay. That's the way I'll do it. It's just a matter of deciding what day I'm going to do it, because Saturday is when I do this show, and I don't really want to move this show to do retro streaming, and I don't want to do both of them on the same day, because that would exhaust my old fat ass. Anyway, it's almost 8:30. It's 8:20, and we are still $33 short of extending by an hour. Just letting y'all know. And again, all of these donations that I've had tonight, all of that goes towards the Retropalooza Fund. Every dime of it. I think she tuckered herself out. She's not. What are you doing? Where's the ball? What'd you do with the ball? Huh? Oh, you still want to play? Oh, you want to use the green one now. Okay. There you go. She'll do this all night long. Oh, whoops. Sorry about that. What? Okay. Keep on asking questions. I can answer questions while I'm throwing the ball. I'm like that. I can multitask. Eventually, she'll get tired and she'll run and hop into that recliner back there. Eventually. Uh-oh. I think I might have thrown it into the chair. I don't know where that one went. Where's the other one? Where's the other ball? Where's the other ball? Where's the one that lights up? Give me that ball. Give me that ball. Right there. Right. Alex. That ball right there. Are you blind? You're a dog. You're supposed to be able to see in the dark. Okay. Well, she can't find it, so. She'll figure it out eventually. Where's the other one? Where's the other one, little bit? Huh? Where's the other one, Alex? Isn't that one right there? Right in front of you? Hold on just a second, folks. Can we get your Borderlands series ranking? I don't know what you mean by my Borderlands series ranking. Like how I rank the individual games? Two, 1, 4, 3. What did you do? Look right here, Alex. Did you not see that? It was right there. It was right there. How did you not see that? How did you not see it? It was right there. You're supposed to be able to see in the dark, you little turd. What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you, Alex? My ball. That's my ball, Alex. You just get to play with it. What about the pre-sequel? I don't like the pre-sequel. I don't even think about that one. I don't like that one at all. I don't like all that crappy floaty moon physics crap. Didn't like it. I liked the storyline in regards to Handsome Jack, but I didn't like the gameplay worth of crap. Eighth bought Ghosts of Yotei, but he's already beat it, in fact, because that's how Eighth does. But I haven't played it because I don't have any interest in the story. Did you see Boogie get in trouble from Keemstar about wanting a... Yes, I saw all that. I'm not really going to get into that. I think it was all stupid and BS, and I'm not going to take part in any of that crap. I messaged Boogie and I let him know exactly how I felt about it. So that's as far as I'm going with it. Nope. Me and Eighth have already played Borderlands 4 in co-op, and we played a 3-player session with Stranded J a couple of weeks back. Are you done? Are you done? No? Give me that ball. It's my ball. You just get to play with it. 7th, I bet you'd like Kingdom Come Deliverance too. 8th hates that series. He said that there was stuff in it that he just didn't care for, like, having to shave and having to take baths and all that kind of crap. Said that was stuff that was not fun or entertaining for him, and so he didn't like that series. So we used to have Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 on PS4, and 8th sold it because he hated it. So is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's up with Boogie. I don't know what's up with him, man. I didn't appreciate that, to say the least, and I let him know. And he tried to pass it off as it was all Keemstar's fault, that Keemstar was the one that brought it up on the air. And I'm like, yeah, but Keemstar didn't make you try to convince Jay to be on the show. Keemstar didn't convince you, didn't, force you to do an entire episode about it. That was all you. So, I let him know how I felt about it. To say the least, I'm not a fan. I get along with Boogie. We've talked before. We've hung out at Retropalooza before, uh, and I liked his old content. I don't like any of this lolcow crap. It's not entertaining to me. It's just fake arguments, and I know that's somewhat hypocritical coming from the fact that we did faked arguments to some extent in the Trey Brotherhood, but not like what they do. Not like what they do. And most of the people on those other lolcow shows, I don't even know why they have a show. To me, Boogie and Wings were the only entertaining people they had on that. Well, yeah, Boogie and Wings. Without the two of them, all the rest of those shows, no. Oh, Magic Powers. I don't mind any of them. I think Wings is kind of a lazy loser. Well, I've never had any interaction with Wings. I don't dislike him. Sometimes I thought he could be funny, but it's just not my style of entertainment, man. I don't get any entertainment out of watching people faking getting angry with each other and faking yelling and screaming at each other. And yes, in the Tree Brotherhood, we had some scripted debates, but it was more like cutting wrestling promos. That's what it was all inspired by, was cutting wrestling promos. And so, we approached that stuff like it was, Rock and Stone Cold in the ring with microphones tossing, barbs back and forth at each other. It wasn't about yelling and screaming over each other to where you couldn't hear what the other person was saying and somehow thinking that that was entertaining. That's not what we did. Yeah, I heard that Wings was quitting again. Honestly, I don't blame him. Sure, he was making money off of it, but to do what? To do what? Do you read any novels? I used to be a voracious reader. I would read over a dozen books a year. Uh, but I just kind of, I think the thing that killed it for me was I used to be a huge Stephen King fan. But his novels started to get progressively worse and worse after his accident when he got run over by that van. Uh, for me, writing wise, he hasn't been the same since. And when I stopped buying every new Stephen King book that came out, I just kind of stopped reading altogether. I got into reading ebooks for a while. I read all of the Dexter books that the Dexter show was based on. $5 from Stranded J. Thank you, Stranded J. That puts us up to $22. So we are $28 away from the $50 goal to extend the show by an hour. So we've got 30 minutes to raise another 28 bucks. What are your goals for the next year? To replace that TV, and to pay off a whole bunch of my debts so that I have more free money per month to do the things that I want to do. I don't know how much time that I have left on this world. None of us do. But there's a lot of things that I still haven't done, places I haven't gone. I want to lose weight so I can physically do some of these things and go to some of these places and have the money to go do them. So that's what I'm hoping for. But definitely I need to replace that TV because it keeps turning itself off. It happens maybe twice a day. And so I know that, something's getting ready to go out on it. And right now I don't have the $1,600 it would take to replace it. If that TV died on me today, I'd be screwed. $5 from Brother Natural. Thank you, Brother Natural. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. So that puts us up to $27. So we are $23 away from the $50 goal. 23 more dollars and I stay another hour. So thank you, Brother Natural. And you know what? I have been forgetting to do the dollar bill. So everyone who's donated tonight, here you go. Here's your dollar bill, y'all. Sorry about that. I'm kind of out of my rhythm. This whole thing with Billy, and I know this sounds crazy to some people because again, this was a friendship that was mostly an electronic friendship. But it's kind of thrown my whole life rhythm off. Because he was what he helped keep my OCD at bay to some extent while I was working through the day. So he became part of, like I said earlier in the stream, he became part of my work rhythm. I would get some things done and I would catch up with him, and I'd get some things done and I'd reach out to one of my other friends. I'd get some things done. I'd go back to Billy, and that would go on, throughout the work week, and it became part of my routine. And now that's gone, and I've had some challenges adjusting to that. Hasn't been easy. And things that affect my work life eventually bleed into everything else. And so, everything just feels off. Everything feels slightly askew. I don't really know how else to describe it. And it's going to take me a while to adjust to that. Why do you keep calling it a dollar bill if the image clearly illustrates a $7 bill? Because it's easier to say dollar bill than $7 bill. And plus, there's no such thing as a $7 bill. I'm just saying. Anyway, do you still share your PSN? You seem like you would be fun to play games with. My PSN isn't public, but if there was someone that wanted to play Borderlands 4, for example, and messaged me on Twitter in a DM and said, "Here's my PSN," Let's schedule some time to play Borderlands 4. I wouldn't be opposed to it, depending on who it was. There's been some people that I've interacted with over the years that, yeah, I don't need to be playing games with you. Y'all know who you are, too. Y'all know. Oh, yes. But anyway, $23 short. If we can hit $23 in the next 26 minutes, y'all get to have my wonderful fat ass for another hour. Yeah, I'm not a guy that usually has strong emotional reactions to anything, Jude, but I've lost a few tears in the last couple of weeks. What do you think about the Game Pass price hike? Well, it doesn't affect me or 8th because we had already canceled our Game Passes a few weeks ago. I'm not going to get into it, Bill. They know who it is. No, it's not Jude. It's not Jude. Although, Jude, I would have reservations playing games online with you because I wouldn't want your husband to have misgivings about you talking to another grown man over the internets. I see you. I see you. You're a good girl. Yes, there are some people that they're a lot to handle. There are some folks that watch me that have certain conditions that, while I appreciate their support and I appreciate their having watched me for so long, playing a game with them for several hours would probably be a little bit more than my patience level could handle. I'm just trying to be polite about it. He's used to it. Okay. I'd give you the $23, but my daughter had homecoming this weekend and it emptied my pockets. Well, I don't have a daughter, but I have a son, and I have a son who has expensive tastes, so I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Most of your friends are guys. Ah, a tomboy. Okay. I got you, Jude. I got you. I got you. Oh. What is it, Puggy? You want to come up here? Huh? You want to come up here? You want to say hi to everybody again? Come on. Come on. Hop up. There you go. There you go. Okay. Okay. You did so good. You went and caught the ball and brought it back. You were a good girl. Yes, sir. You were a good girl. Look at that tail wagging. Yeah. Yeah. You did good. You went and caught the ball. You brought it back. Yes, you did. Okay. There you go. I'm on your friends list, but I don't think we've hung out or gamed, but it was kind to accept it. It's cool, man. Like I said, I don't have a problem with playing with people online. It's just there are some folks that I just know from experience that I'm not a match with personality-wise. Let's just put it that way. My husband wanted a wife who plays games, but I game more than he does. What do you think about the Saudis acquiring EA? No big loss, but some of those developers, like BioWare, they're not going to be able to put a lot of their politics into their games from here on out. Mass Effect might be a totally different thing the next time they release one of those. I'm just saying. Probably not going to be having any more same-sex relationships in that game, if you know what I mean. What is it, baby? You looking at the garage door waiting for 8th to come in, huh? You missing your dad? When he's not home, she'll sit and she'll watch the door that leads out to the garage, wanting him to come back through the door. She does not like it when he goes and spends the night with friends. She doesn't like it at all, do you? Huh? Where's Dad? Where's he at? Do you know? Okay. Okay, don't be sad. Don't be sad. It'll be all right. You got Grandpa here. You got my old fat ass. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you. Jude, your husband is lucky. My wife of 27 years won't touch a controller. My ex-wife was not much of a gamer. The only game that I could really get her to play with me was Bust a Move. She loved Bust a Move. But of course, she hated to lose. She hated to lose. Now, she liked some stuff, like she really liked Kingdom Hearts. That was as close to anything hardcore as she would get, was Kingdom Hearts. The rest of the time, it was like simple puzzle games, and that was it. She wasn't that much of a gamer. I think Wolverine looks good. A lot of what I saw in the Wolverine trailer looked like it was lifted straight from X-Men Origins Wolverine, as far as some of the combat went. Okay, you want down? Here, I'm not going to let you hop down. I'm not going to let you hop down, but I'll put you down if you want down. Come on. We've already had challenges with your leg. I don't want that to happen again, okay? Okay. I couldn't play a multiplayer game just because someone not doing their job or being dead weight would irritate me, but if I would happen to be the useless one, it would break my heart. Well, I don't do competitive multiplayer and haven't since 2004. I lost my taste for it. But co-op stuff like Borderlands 4, that I'll do. Or, for example, Dead Island 2. If you had Dead Island 2 on PS5 and wanted to do that co-op, I'd play that with you. Certain people, anyway. I tried to get my husband to play Ghost of Tsushima, but he got bored in a few minutes. I told him he didn't deserve to use my PS5. Woman after my own heart. Bust a Move is a classic. Yes, it is. And the one here's the weird thing. She only liked one version of Bust a Move. And that was Bust a Move 4 for the Dreamcast. That's the only version of Bust a Move she liked. What you got there, huh? What you got? You got the ball? Oh, you got that ball? Okay. There you go. I told you she'd do this all night if you let her. I told you. We're right at the 15-minute mark, and we're still $23 short of extending by an hour. So that's up to you guys. I follow the rules. If we don't hit 50 bucks, you get 3 hours. You get 3 hours for free, guaranteed. Anything beyond that, time is money, my friend. You know, I work 60 plus hours a week. I enjoy my weekends. I'm willing to give y'all 3 hours for free, but anything beyond that, gotta pay for it. Sorry to be that way, but I've been that way since at least 2016. Almost 10 years. Y'all know it by now. Y'all know it by now. Oh boy. Now I've already beat Borderlands 4, but I haven't platted it. And I haven't done a whole bunch of the side quests and stuff. Is Bust a Move a Tester's clone? Bust a Move is like Puzzle Bobble, where you've got a little thing that you can aim this way and that way, and you shoot little bubbles to match up the same color bubbles to make them pop. That's what Bust a Move is. How do I convince my hubby that we need a Switch too? That I would not be the right person to answer that, Jude, because I haven't been able to convince myself that I need a Switch too. I haven't bought a Switch 2. Screw that. I'd rather take that money and buy more PS5 games. Or buy more games for the collection. You know, I couldn't tell you the last time I bought a new NES game for my collection. I'm still sitting at a little over 440. I think the last time I bought any NES games, I bought them from Greg Honeycutt, who you've seen in several episodes of the Game Chasers. I bought like $100 of commons from him earlier this summer. And you're even going to give us a gameplay stream on occasion. Eventually, yeah. Eventually. Would have done it the night that it was me and 8th and Stranded J playing, but I knew that 8th wasn't in the mood for being online and, you know, being asked a bunch of questions while he was trying to play the game, so I didn't stream it. I need to find a place to get secondhand games at a decent price. You mean there ain't anything like that over? Are you still in France or are you back in the UK? Or back in England? You done? No? That's my ball. You only get to play with it. Silly. 7thX would keep that Switch 2 and sell the much cooler PS5 out from under him. Yes, she would. Yes, she would. And then she'd try to dictate when I was and was not allowed to play the Switch 2. Like, you can play for 2 hours after 8th goes to bed. Like, you're trying to tell me when I can and can't do something? Under my own roof? Yes. And if you don't like it, you may just come home and not find it there. Well, now I get to do what I want when I want. And she's where she's at, doing what she's doing. You're in California. Okay. You have my condolences. I'm definitely more of a PlayStation guy than Switch or Switch 2, but I know some people love Switch. Yeah, some people love handheld games. Game stores here in Louisiana suck. I need to come over to Texas. No, you don't. Game stores in Texas suck too. There's one decent one where I live. It's inside a dying mall. They don't have great prices, but they have a decent selection. But like, for example, Game Exchange that you've seen Billy and Jay go to in the videos where Billy found the Flintstones. Game Exchange suck now. Is it like the one that's here? I went in there. All they had left from NES all the way up to PS2 were sports games. Just sports games. Everything else had been picked clean and was gone. They're making most of their money selling Pokemon cards now. Retro, as far as retro stores, is a dying thing. 7th, I have a gift I will be sending you around Christmas. Well, I appreciate that, Jay. You don't need to spend money on me, but I appreciate it. New Age Al Bundy and his wife Peggy. It's nice she hit remarried, so maybe she cleaned up a little. I feel bad she screwed you with your possessions. A legendary 7th story. Things in the long term haven't worked out with her and hubby number 2 either. You know, big shocker there. But, you know, whatever. Doesn't affect me one way or the other. I saw a meme that said, "You're entering California, question your life choices." I looked at my husband and said, "You're my life choice." Unfortunately, yeah. California is not a place I'd want to be right now. Even if I'd found black gold, Texas tea. Hills, that is. I live in a small town in Louisiana. They don't even have a local retro store. Yeah, the best ones are either in the DFW area, or I hear there are good ones down in San Antonio. And of course, Greg Honeycutt in Houston runs a good one. But where I live and Austin, garbage. Garbage. Yep, all we have here is a GameStop and a Game Exchange. They blow. My local GameStop went out of business a few weeks ago. It's gone. Saw that episode because I started at the beginning. Jay was farting around on his phone, and a game that was a Blockbuster exclusive was priced $5, so it slipped through in Billy's spot. Yeah, that was at a Game Exchange. Yeah, admittedly, man, I see. All right, we've got 10 minutes left, and we're $23 short. Looks like it's not going to happen tonight, folks. Looks like it's not going to happen. Wait, you're telling me after Jin saves Japan from the mongrels, they banish him? Ungrateful. Yeah, he ends up living by himself with not by himself, living with that woman from the game, living with her on an island together, isolated from the rest of the world. That's how his story ends, according to Ghosts of Yote. That was kind, Jude. The one named Shadow. What town? Yep, 10 minutes left, $23 short, everybody, for another hour. Gone to see any movies lately? One Battle After Another looks good. I don't know what One Battle After Another is. We're not going to be going to see anything else until Tron Ares. I wanted to go see Good Boy, but there aren't any theaters near me that are showing Good Boy. So I'll probably end up just having to wait for the digital version to come out. What is Opelousas? Good retro stores in San Antonio. Going to have to message Eric. That I don't know. I have not been to San Antonio. 8th has been to San Antonio several times, but I have not. I've wanted to go because I would love to go to the Alamo and see where Davy Crockett passed away or was killed. I should say. I'd love to go see that. I'd love to go see the Riverwalk and whatnot. But one, I can't do a whole lot of walking very well. And two, I just, for whatever reason, I never really have the money to go on a road trip unless it's Retropalooza. And even then, I'm sitting here, asking for donations so I can have enough money to pay Brian for my half of the Airbnb. So, yeah. My husband is Californian and he got the joke. He wants to leave here. Tell him to move to Texas. Nine Inch Nails original soundtrack is pretty rad. Yeah. Tell him to move to Texas, Judith. But not Austin. If you move to Austin, you're just moving to Central California. Avoid Austin. You can go to DFW, which still gets snow, or, maybe Houston. I don't know about San Antonio. San Antonio they don't have as many tornadoes, but they have to deal with flooding and at least in the inner surrounding San Antonio, there's a higher crime area. I live in a tiny little town in the middle that's like a wide spot in the road between Dallas and Austin. So, I'm living that small town life. Opelousas, town north of Lafayette, okay? Or Lafayette. Where I come from, it's not Lafayette, it's Lafayette. I'm from Tennessee, and in Tennessee, they call it Lafayette. That's why we're going to Texas next month. We're looking for places to move. I live in a town called Temple. It's at the bottom edge of Tornado Alley. And a tornado hit the town 2 days before my move-in date, but it didn't hit my neighborhood. It hit a couple miles down the street. It was the first time this town had been hit by a tornado in 71 years. There was one that had touched down west of Temple at a lakeside resort back in 1997, and that was the closest this town had come to being hit by one in 71 years. So hopefully another one doesn't hit it anytime soon. But even though we're the bottom tip of Tornado Alley, there's still, even Austin and the surrounding area of Austin gets hit by them semi regularly. You don't really hear that much about tornadoes hitting Houston, although they do get hit by derechos, which is basically straight line winds. They're powerful enough to blow your roof off if you get hit by one. And they get hit by hurricanes because they're on the coast. What are you growling at? There ain't nothing out there. Anytime one of our neighbors fart in the general direction of this house, she growls. Sucker Punch is notorious for abruptly concluding a likable protagonist story and continuing the series with a new lame protagonist. Hence what we got from Cole to Delson and now... Yeah, I know. Sucks, doesn't it? Thoughts on the IGN reviewer saying all Sony games are the same? These last couple of generations, it has kind of felt that way, yeah. Just being honest. We're looking at a small place outside of San Antonio. Maybe north of San Antonio, like San Marcos, would be a good place if you can afford it. But I'm assuming if you could afford California, you could afford San Marcos. It was too rich for my blood, which is why I ended up in Temple. Because it was the most affordable place that wasn't going to put me in the ghetto. All they got is a GameStop and a Walmart in Opelousas if you want to buy physical games. I'm not much better off. I got that one place in the mall that I don't like to go to because it means having to walk through the mall to get to it. But because I've been to that game exchange in Temple twice, and there ain't nothing in that store. Nothing. I haven't. All I've bought in there is I bought a Gunpla model. That was it. Last question. Any interest in Hades 2? I haven't even played Hades 1 yet. 5 minutes left, people. 5 minutes left and $23 short. Won't you think of the 7th? Please think of the 7th. 7th needs to go to Retropalooza. I'm just kidding. Y'all don't want to donate. You don't want to donate. I ain't going to fucking beg for it. Oh, I used a wordy dirt. Oh, no. Darn 7th, you're 5 hours west from me. Yeah, well, you know, I live out in the middle of nowhere. What can I say? What can I say? In Temple, Texas, like the old man from No Country from Old Men. Well, you know, small town life, baby. Small town life. Nothing happens here, and that's the way I like it. You know, if I want to go to a nicer game store, I can drive to Killeen, or I can drive north to Waco, or I can drive an hour south to Austin. I missed the part of France I lived in for secondhand games. They'd sell secondhand PS5 games for $30. Not bad. Most of the secondhand PS5 stuff I do, I just wait for it to get cheap and I buy it used off GameFly. Because the game is in like new condition when GameFly sends it to you. Not a scratch on it. You get the game and the manual if it has a manual and all that. So that's what I do. I just wait for the game to get old so that GameFly will sell it, and I just buy them 5 and 6 at a time. Unless it's something I just have to play, like Borderlands 4. 3 minutes left, folks. We're getting down to the wire. 3 minutes left. $23 short. 7th's on pain. I can see it. Do you mean 7th's in pain? I'm always in pain, son. It's always just a matter of degree. I'm always hurting. It's just a matter of where and how bad. GameFly, yes. It's a website where you can rent games. It's kind of like what Netflix used to be, where you could have discs sent to your house. Well, with GameFly, you can have games sent to your house, and you get to keep them until you're done with them and send them back, but you're only allowed to rent so many games at a time, and they sell, when the game ain't popular anymore, they sell some of their copies of said game. And so I wait for them to get cheap on GameFly, and I buy them off there. 2 minute warning, folks. 2 minute warning. $23 short. It ain't happening tonight, folks. You know, Max 88 ain't here. You know, none of the guys that donate big are here tonight. That would normally swoop in at the last minute and extend the show. That's not going to happen tonight. It's not going to happen tonight. That's fine. You know, not every stream needs to be a big barnstorming 6-hour stream. It doesn't have to happen every week. I do appreciate the $27 that we've earned tonight. I appreciate it. That's $27 that'll go towards the 200 I owe Brian for the hotel or the Airbnb. I guess that's something y'all didn't have in the over in Europe, Jude, but we have it here. We can talk about that later on Facebook or something. No big. How is 8th liking the table? He loves the table. He loves the table. He's a lot busier now that he's doing the college thing, so he hasn't been able to play as much as he would like, but he loves the new table. Hopefully we'll get all the other accessories here soon, but, you know, with the tariffs being the way they are, who knows when they'll show up? Who knows when they'll show up? 1 minute warning. 1 minute left, $23 short. I tell you. You think people love you, and then your heart's just dashed upon the rocks. Well, it's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock, and we are $23 short. So, unfortunately, friends and neighbors, this is where I'm going to have to leave you. Be thinking about all the things you want to ask me about. Write them down in a little 7th Stream journal so you'll remember what they are, so that I will have actual content to talk about the next time I stream, which will be, as you know, same 7th time, same 7th channel.